configure the IP addresses, we go to R1. On F0 by 0, we will configure 12.1.1.1. And then we'll go to R2, F0 by 0, 12.1.1.2, F0 by 1, 23.1.1.1. And then finally on F0 by 0 of R3, we will configure 23.1.1.2. So config terminal to get into global configuration mode. Interface, inside the interface, because we are trying to configure the interface, IP address 23.1.1.2 and subnet mask that I want to configure, and no shutdown because we want to bring up the interface, because we know administratively they are down by default. When we have configured this, let us go to R1 and check routing table of R1. R1 obviously won't be knowing about 23 network, right? Because it is not directly connected to it. But like we have said that if R1 wants to forward data to any network that is on the internet, scenario that we are taking, it has to forward data to R2, because that is the only connectivity that it has to forward data to all the networks on the internet. So let us configure a default route on it. The way we configure static routes, same is the way to configure default route, IP route. But now the network ID that we are going to mention is 0000, and the subnet mask that we are going to mention is 0000. And then the next hop that we are going to give is what? Perfect. If R1 wants to send any, data to any IP, then it has to send data to 12.1.1.2. That is the next hop for it. Now let us try to understand what it means. This first part is about the network ID. Network ID we know is the first IP of a network. It is the first IP of a network. And this is the subnet mask. Subnet mask helps us know that how big is the network part in the IP and how big is the host part in the IP, so that we can understand that how many IP addresses are there inside the network to which that particular IP belongs. Now here the subnet mask says that there are no network bits. That means there are no reserved bits. That means all the octets can entirely change. They are starting from 0000 because this is the network ID, and they will go till 255.255.255.255. So basically the default route contains all the possible IP addresses, and it is giving way for all those IP addresses, the least specific network that we can tell a router about. We have configured a default route on R1. Let us verify it by writing show IP route. This is the command to check the routing table we know. And you can see that there is a default route which is, if anyone wants to go to any IP, I will send data to 12.1.1.2 next hop. Yes, I am a static route because I have been configured manually. But yes, additionally I am also star. That means I am a candidate default. I am a default route. I am a default route. I am static, but I am default. And the least specific network that a router could ever know about, can ever know about. And this is what? The administrative distance. So for static and default route, AD is what? 1. Because both are same only. Configured by the administrator. We trust administrator a lot. That is why we have kept AD so low. And 0 is the distance. We cannot give distance in static routes. We know this. So always for static routes, distance will be 0. We cannot tell how far that network is when we are configuring a static route on a router for a network. So when this is done, if I ask you, will R1 be able to ping R3 right now, 23.1.1.2? No. Why? Because whenever we ping, icmp protocol is used, icmp echo request goes, and icmp echo reply comes back. R3, when it will echo reply, it won't be able to send data back to 12.1.1.1 because by default R3 does not know about 12 network. It is not directly connected to it. So we will also configure a default route on R3 because R3 is Bangalore branch. It has only one connectivity to the service provider, and if it wants to go to any network on the internet, only way goes via that single way. That is wire 23.1.1.1 next hop. So let us configure it. Or on R3 we say any 23.1.1.1. We can verify this by looking at the routing table. We'll be able to see this. Now if we go to R1 and ping 23.1.1.2 without fail, you will see that we are able to ping. After few ARP requests and replies, obviously, because whenever we're trying to ping any IP, we have to know that, okay, to reach that IP, what is the MAC I need to use? So all of those things are resolved with the help of which protocol? ARP protocol, finding MAC for known IP addresses. And once everything is learned without any droppage, we will directly be able to ping. Right? So this is the concept of default routing, mostly used when you have only a single connectivity to the service provider. So on the edge router, you configure the default route. But if you have any scenario where you are seeing that there is a stub network, like here, like this is a stub network, when you see such scenarios, on that those routers also we can configure default routes, because if that router wants to forward data to any network, it has only one way. So why not just configure a default route and keep the routing table of that router small? Why specifically tell that router about it?